Hey, what's up? Welcome to Trapping the Time. I'm Pablo, and in today's video we are going to see a watch that occupies an important place in the history of horology. And that's because it's the 50th anniversary of the first watch Casio manufactured, the Casiotron, which is now commemorated in this limited edition of 4,000 units for the whole world. In 1974, Casio burst onto the market with its Casiotron, first computerized watch that not only gives the complete time but also incorporates a calendar with date, month and day of the week, automatic. That is to say that it is self-regulating in the changes of month even in leap years, making clear from the outset its commitment to innovation and functionality, which are the hallmark of the brand to this day. The first thing I want to do is to thank Casio Spain for allowing us to participate in the celebration of nothing less than its 50th anniversary, sending us this watch that commemorates that event, and that is a faithful reproduction of one of those watches that started it all. But this one applies the most modern technologies, and its reference is TRN-50. Congratulations to Casio for this great moment. 50 years do not happen every day. Our warmest congratulations and a million thanks for sharing it with us. The first thing to note is that the spirit of that original Casiotron is perfectly reflected in the new model, and it is true that the first thing it evokes is a past time with that retro-modern air that is so fashionable. In this case, it only needs to recreate itself to be up to date, and that speaks of the success of its design that has already turned 50 years old, but resists the passage of time as only watchmaking icons do. Being made of steel, it offers that sense of immortality that perhaps its resin brothers lack. It is heavy and pleasant to the touch, and even more so to the eye. Starting with the dial, on the perimeter we see a metallic ring decorated with a very reflective coin edge pattern that gives it a classic and elegant feel. Then, until reaching the screen or display, we find a striped surface in two colors, purplish gray in the center and dark gray above and below. But the curious thing about this decoration is that they look like Geneve coats of the digital era, because the game they play with light is very similar. Those lines seem to move, shifting the reflection as you tilt the clock a little. The truth is that it is a very attractive visual effect. The same thing happens with the name of the brand and the model. Depending on how the light hits them, they appear silver or black. If you tilt the watch enough to see the profile of these letters, you see that they have volume. That is, they are not painted, but applied. We arrive at the screen, framed in metal, with a rectangular TV shape and rounded corners. It is liquid crystal and has a background color, I would say slightly greenish. It shows digits and letters in black. Above, painted on the display, abbreviations of its functions in shiny silver, except for the one on the right that says low in red tone. Below, a very narrow border composed of numerous closely spaced bars, which, like the letters above, cast shadows. It visually divides the screen into two parts, upper and lower. To the south we see the same pattern, but with much longer bars. The crystal is mineral, and that seems to me to be a flaw. Perhaps this can be understood from the point of view of the brand, to use the materials it has been using in its watches since its inception. But thinking about the imperishable character that every owner of this watch would like, it is probably not the best choice. I, for my part, would have preferred a sapphire. The bezel has two rings, the first in 1 degree and the other vertical, both finished in mirror. The case is very 70s, and perhaps that is why it is very current. There are many best-selling watches with designs that evoke those years, such as the Citizen Ciosa or the Tissot PRX, for example. It is made of steel and is polished on most of its surface, except on the front that has a kind of radial scratch. It is not a common brushed. The rest is polished, and for me this is almost the main flaw of the watch, as it scratches when you look at it. I would have preferred more satin finished surfaces, although it is the same as with the crystal. If the idea is to respect the original design, a hardened steel would have been perfect. Its shape is very special. On the one hand, you see a block of molded steel, something cold and inert, and on the other hand, you appreciate the work they have done, for example, to make it look like it has lugs, or how they have rounded the side profile that separates the flat area from the vertical. Together with the two push buttons on each side, the result is as organic as it can look, just a block of steel. Seen from the side, it looks like a crab or some other extraterrestrial critter looking at me. The pushers, of course, are also made of steel. We would like to thank our sponsors Minor Watches and Berny Watch. Let's go with the case back, which I love for several reasons. The first is that it is made of glass. Since it's a radio-controlled watch, I imagine that the liquid crystal on the dial makes it difficult to receive the signal. That's why they've made a cover like this, where normally I'd say it has the movement exposed, but that's not the case, for obvious reasons. What I like is how well they have taken advantage of that circumstance to design such an attractive back. On a black background stands out that geometric shape that is nothing but the representation of the zenithal view of the CASIO building, with legends in English that say since 1974 and 50th anniversary. Outside that hexagon, at the base, we see Casiotron, and around a lot of references, pictograms, and legends that tell us about the endowment of this watch. It equips a 3542 module, that it is made in Japan, that it is connected by Bluetooth, that it is radio-controlled, that it is charged by solar energy, or that it resists a pressure of 5 bars, all of them written in English. Its steel part is full of proprietary nomenclature, which is unintelligible to most, except for two. The reference to it being made entirely of steel, and that unique number of each of these Casiotron, because it is a limited edition. This one bears the number 2869 of 4000. Depending on how the light reflects on it, there are moments when you can perfectly see that black background on which symbols and legends in silver stand out, but in others you only see what looks like an opaque smoked glass. I like that effect, and in general a case cover that, without having anything luxurious, does give a feeling of wow, how cool. The way I see it, it phenomenally represents Casio's 50 years in a cover that connects you with the brand and its history. And the fact that it carries a unique numbering, maybe I do not give it so much value in a micro brand, but in a CASIO, my goodness. We got to the bracelet, and I must admit that at first I thought, what a little thing. But then you see it well, and when you know that it also respects the original design, which is solid steel in all its links and has a good machined clasp, you think, why do you want more? To add weight? While to the touch it may seem somewhat poor, visually it is quite successful. On the outside it seems to have 3 links per row, but it is only one, which in the center shows a mirror-polished horizontal rectangle, and on the sides, with that shape that I do not know how to define, brush finishes. It has 20 millimeters on the lugs, if you can call them that. and descends to 16 near the clasp. A clasp, by the way, which is not to be reproached for anything. It has 3 folds, is press-studded, and is released with the classic loops. It has a brushed finish and is embossed in low relief with the brand name. It incorporates 3 holes for micro-adjustment. All good. And before I leave you with Alex to explain the features and functionalities of this Casio TRN-50, I will summarize what, for me, are its strengths and weaknesses. I consider it a major shortcoming that the crystal is mineral. I would have preferred a sapphire crystal to contribute to the unpredictable feel of the watch. Another thing I would have liked is for the steel to have some hardening treatment, thinking about the same thing, that my children and then my grandchildren will inherit it. Its price is 500 euros, and I understand that many may find it excessive or not, depending on how you look at it. I think they will sell like hotcakes, not only because Casio has many, more than lovers, addicted to the brand, also because it is a unique watch. Even if they later launch 20 models with this design, the one that commemorates its 50 years is this one, and just for that, for many, it will be worth a lot. But that is not its only argument. It is beautiful, well-made, fully respects the spirit of the original, but implements the most modern technologies, so it is immensely more functional than the original, which was no less the first digital with automatic calendar in history. In short, a watch that transcends the objective assessment by the anniversary it commemorates. The watch that celebrates 50 years of Casio is this one, and for that reason alone, it already has an immense value. Even for me, I'm not so addicted to the brand. And I'll leave you now with Alex.
How are you? I'm Alex. The truth is that I was very excited to review the features of this watch. I'm not much of a digital watch wearer, but the truth is that with this one, I have had a different feeling to other watches because that with digital screen. And the truth is that the first time I wore it, perhaps its 70s aesthetic doesn't really suit me, but after a few days and with it in my hand, I have been feeling more and more comfortable. In the box, one of the things I liked the most was that it had the representation of the Casio building. And well, that they obviously let you know that it is a commemoration of its 50th anniversary and that it was first manufactured in 1974. As a curious detail, it is worth noting that Casio launches this watch for sale on February 29th, a situation that only occurs every 4 years. And I think it is a way they have to claim that they were the first to offer the market a watch that included these variations in its calendar. What they have put here has been, well, perhaps the most remarkable thing about the watch, right? That it is made in Japan, that it is solar powered, well, that it can be connected through the smartphone, and that it is radio controlled. And the truth is that it's cool that it is, well, that as if it were a display of the watch. And here's the little guy, which, fuck, the truth is that it is a Casio watch to be it's heavy, it's sturdy, it's pretty, it's... Maybe at the beginning I didn't like it so much, but I think that good things, it's like good songs, isn't it? The first time you hear them, you say, I don't know if I like it, but as you listen to them, you like them more and more and more and more. And that's a little bit what happens to me with this watch. It's really cool. And besides, well, I don't have as big a wrist as Andre and Pablo, and I think it suits me a little better. Truth be told. I'm going to focus now on the functions of the watch. So, not to get too long, I will say that it has the current time, hours, minutes and seconds, full calendar. It also has world time, up to 5 configurable time uses. It has an alarm with 5 daily alarms, a snooze alarm and a time signal. It also has a stopwatch and countdown timer. All these options are configurable through the push buttons, but very easily configurable through the mobile application. As soon as we connect it, we can already see the battery charge of the watch. Well, by the way, one of the things that I also really like is how the display lights up. It's like very subtle, very soft. You give it and it lights up little by little. and when you turn it off, it fades into a blue color that I think looks great. And well, all the functionalities of the watch in these headings, which are alarms, timer, reminder, world time, time synchronization, phone finder, and more clock settings, the general basic settings. There are options, such as the reminder, like the phone finder, can only be set through the app. 5 alarms and a time signal. We can set the time we want from the timer. Reminder, hairdresser, as you can see here, I already had it configured. World time, which brings 5 options. In this case, these are the ones that brings by default, but well, we can configure the one we want. In this case, we are going to set Mexico. And send settings to the clock. Configuration completed, and now if we go to world time and navigate between the possible options, in this case the 2 is Mexico, there it is 5 past 12, while here it is 12 past 12. Synchronization of the time, well, it is a radio controlled clock. What happens? In an area of difficult reception of radio antennas, recommends that you connect the watch to the phone, and in this way it automatically adjusts the time. It also has a phone finder, which I am very absent-minded and I leave my phone everywhere. Often before leaving the house, I waste a lot of time looking for the phone. I know it's a bit of a nuisance because you can tell anyone you live with to call you, but if you live alone, it's great. So, well, how is this? In this case, I have a song configured out of the 3 that it allows you, and if I want to find the mobile, I simply have to press 5 seconds. The word find appears, and now in principle the phone will start. There it is. Then look for the phone and turn it off. Nothing more really. Then what I said before, everything can be configured from the watch, everything can be configured from the mobile. I think it is a plus that has the configuration through the mobile to not throw you, well, that while learning the manual and another time configuring it through the buttons. But for those who want to do it, there it is, fully configurable through the watch, except that the reminder and the phone finder. So nothing else. Greetings, guys.
And this is the end of today's video. I hope you liked it. Thank you very much for staying until the end, and do not forget that next week if you want more. Greetings from the team, and see you soon.